Hi everyone. This is my father's bowling ball. You might be wondering why I'm holding his bowling ball and why I'm dressed up. Well, I want to tell you a story today, and I think it's only proper that I dress up to honor my dad. This bowling ball has been in our family for at least 57 years. I know that because I'm 57. But actually, he had the bowling ball at least 4 years before I was born. So that would say 61 years, but I'm just using 57. We don't know exactly how long he had it. Before my father got married, he still lived at home with his parents, and he worked hard. He gave most of his paycheck to his mom and dad to help support the house, which is what people did back then. He had several hobbies. He used to go hunting. He raised chickens, and he was in a bowling league. When he met my mom and got married, he gave away his chickens. He sold his guns, and he put his bowling ball in the closet. See, when my dad got married, he took a vow to my mother to love, honor, and cherish her all the days of his life. To him, that meant making my mom his first priority. As a husband and a dad, he couldn't see himself leaving his family at home to go out with friends. That just didn't make any sense to him. His family was his family, and we were more important than his friends. I often think of several Bible verses when I think of this story. Oh, look at this bowling ball. In the book of Ephesians, the Apostle Paul talks about husbands and wives and how they should treat each other. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25, it says, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. How did he give himself for it? He died. He died for the church. In Ephesians 5:31, it says, and for this course, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one. And in Ephesians 5:33, it says, let every one of you in particular love his wife as he loves himself. So I've seen before where people go to get married and take their vows, and if they use the actual translation from the King James Version of the Bible, it might say should obey or should submit to your husband for the wife. And I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to submit to anybody, And it's interesting in today's world, and it's not a surprise, but it's interesting because it's what God is telling you to do. And when you look at the actual translation of the word that they used for submit in the Greek, it means to have a reverence, an honor for your husband, a respect for your husband, and to listen to your husband when he speaks. And, people use that verse and they harp all over that, but they never use the very next verse where God says, and husbands, love your wife like Christ loved the church, like we just read. Well, how did Christ love the church? He died for it. And if your husband is willing to die for you, is it too much to ask that you have a respect for him and honor for him? I think not. So my dad took these vows serious because he had never made a commitment or taken vows to his friends. He had taken vows and made a commitment to his wife and now his family. Although he parted with his chickens and he sold his guns, he never parted with that bowling ball, and it stayed in the closet for his entire life. And when he died, my brother took the bowling ball, and recently it came to me, and I've got it now, and I cleaned up the bag that it was in and fixed it up nice, and that's what made me decide to make this video and tell this story. I believe as we started to grow up as children, my brother and I, my father did get chickens again. And I believe the reason he resumed that hobby was because it's something he could do once again with the family. He could do it at home and not have to leave us to go do his whatever selfish desires or whatever you want to call them. Some people I tell this story to say, well, that's ridiculous. You should never give up your hobbies in life and the things you like to do for anyone. And that'll just cause a lousy relationship if you have to give up your things for someone else. And I can understand people saying that. I can understand thinking that way. But I think in my family, it worked out fine. And it taught us to have that love for family and to put family first. This reminds me of an analogy I got from the Bible. One of the things you hear a lot when you try to tell someone about Christianity, they say, well, I wouldn't want to go to your church, or I wouldn't want to be a Christian because I have to give up all these things that I want to do. And I can understand that as well. Someone who doesn't understand true Christianity. The truth is that you don't have to give up anything. You're a grown up. You don't have to give up anything. But I'll be honest with you, you'll want to give up certain things because when you become a Christian, you'll start wanting to do things differently. There's a change that happens in you, and you'll start seeing things differently, and you want to live your life a little differently. It's a change that happens from the inside out. I once heard it said this way: God's love doesn't demand a change, it produces one. So when my father got married, he took his vows serious, and it produced a change in him. He no longer lived for himself, he lived for us. In the same way, Christ came for us, not himself. Christ himself said, I came to serve, not to be served. Imagine the king of the world came to serve others and not be put on a pedestal. Can you name another king in history that we can say that about? I think that if we all took a lesson, learned a lesson from this, and we all learned to put others first, the world would be a much better place. So let's take a look at this bowling ball. This is the original case. I just cleaned it up. It was pretty dirty because it had been in the garage for a while after it left my dad's closet. um, the zipper has seen better days. The zipper's broken. I oiled it a little bit, but it didn't matter. Inside, what do we have? We have my dad's shoes, his original bowling shoes. I don't know. I would say these shoes have got to be, like we said, 61 years old. I cleaned them up a little bit. Didn't all I did was wipe them down. They're still shiny. Um, they have an H on the bottom. I don't know what that stands for, but and this was his rag that he used to shine his bowling ball and to clean it. This rag has been sitting with these shoes in this bag for over 60 years. I think that's amazing. I mean, I'm a history guy. I'm more of a historical guy than a history guy. I try to think of what it was like years ago and who lived and what people were like and, who was in this house and what it was like 50 or 100 years ago. So here's his bowling ball. It's a heavy one. I was playing with it earlier, and it's probably a little bit heavier than I would like. But the finger holes fit perfect. Perfect for me. So if I was going to bowl, this ball would be perfect, except it's kind of heavy. Anyway, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got his name right there, Roger C. He had it put on the ball and says some things down there. But anyway, I'm sure, it says Brunswick. And I'm sure that many, many years ago, this was state of the art. Anyway, this is his bowling ball. It sat in his closet for 57 years. When he died, it went to my brother, and then it recently came to me, and I'm glad to have it. I will keep this in my closet until the day I die. I'll keep it as a remembrance of my dad and the commitment he made to us.